Skewb IDEA was formed in the summer of 2021 following the murders of George Floyd and Sarah Everard and the racist backlash in the days after the Euro 2021 football final. We recognise the potential for Skewb to take a much more targeted and personal approach to how we look at diversity and inclusion, aligned with our core values of integrity, simplicity, collaboration and citizenship. What we stand for sets us apart. We are diverse and innovative, and all Skewbers are empowered to strive for excellence. I'm Gill Edwards, Senior Project Manager and Idea Lead at Skewb, and I'm going to be walking you through Idea's journey along with Vince Nwana, Transformation Director at Skewb and co-founder of Idea.
That's me.
So Vince, let's start at the very beginning and talk about why Idea was formed.
I had an interesting part of my career where I was completely outcomes focused and had absolutely no interest in doing anything around diversity and inclusion, in spite of being a Black employee working within a big multinational organization. I was then rooted to do inclusion and diversity initiatives, which wasn't a nice fit for me initially. And once I got drawn in and understood the complexities of it and understood the changes that it made in people's lives, I got drawn in, and that was it. Joined Skewb. I was employee number 003 at Skewb, and I think my love for diversity and inclusion made sure that as one of the first Skewbers, I ensured that everybody who joined Skewb felt welcome, felt included, felt that the ideas would be welcome into Skewb, that the ideas will naturally propel Skewb forward. As Skewb grew, Gill wrote an email to the CEO, Shashi, about the way some Black members of a team might be feeling following the racist portrayal of the Black players within the Euro 2021 games when they missed the penalties and the backlash in the press was really bad. That was the moment when Skewb IDEA moved from just being a Vince's side project to a very formalized thing. Shashi jumped on it immediately, put me in charge of it because he knew that it was things that I was doing anyway. And between Gill and myself, we ensured that Idea was an integral part of not just our day-to-day activities with Skewb, but all the ways we engage with our clients and with the outside world.
Yeah. True.
Gill, what were your hopes and dreams about Skewb IDEA when it was first created? And how did you feel when Shashi came back to you going, it is within your gift to make it what it is and what you want it to be?
So if we go back to the email that you just mentioned, it was in those few days after those 5 lads stood up to take those football kicks and 3 of them missed. And if they'd all, got the ball in the back of the goal, they'd have been lauded as heroes, but actually they weren't. And I thought that the backlash was absolutely disgusting. And I suppose it goes along with what Vince also said about me being a mother, because this relates heavily to my view on parenting and my view on being a mother and actually wanting to mother the whole world, really. But when my eldest daughter was at school, she was a classmate of a lad called Tammy Abrahams, and he had a brother, Timmy Abrahams. I might have got them mixed up there, but who plays for Chelsea. And I looked at these 5 lads and I thought, my goodness, it could be a child that I know that is having all of this come back on them. And I thought that's just not acceptable. And then I looked at my team and a few young Black people in my team and I thought, they're there without their parents. How would I feel if my child was out in the world suffering from this backlash? And it's simply not acceptable. So in my angry mum phase, I typed out this email to Shashi and I said, we're in this new company, we're doing something new. I had worked for a very large company for the previous part of my career, and I'd seen, how they do, a very corporate, slick D&I offering, and that's brilliant. It ticks all of the boxes. But actually, in a place like Skewb, we've got the opportunity to do this in a personal way because we know everybody's faces, we interact with each other all the time. So I said, to Shashi, there's an opportunity to do this in a really special way. What are you doing? Never in a million years did I think he'd come back and say, okay, what do you want to do? But he did, literally within minutes, I think, and you also replied to it. And I thought, no one has ever asked me to take on something like that before, and I didn't particularly consider myself a social crusader. But then thinking about it afterwards, there have been lots of times in my life when I have been at the brunt of needing a bit of diversity inclusion. I was a part-time worker for a long time. I worked in an office very full of men, a very not within the same industry, but in an equally male-dominated industry. Then I was a carer for my mum, who was disabled and in a wheelchair. And then coming on to more recent years, all three of my children have come out as members of the LGBTQIA community. So I thought, not only are these poor three guys who missed their goal kicks, they're being targeted, my children could be like that too, and everybody's children. And so I thought, why not do this? Why not have a go and do it? And there was so much love and support that it was nothing to be afraid of. And although it's quite a vulnerable subject, I've had complete acceptance across Skewb. No one has ever rolled their eyes or any of that type of thing at me. It's always been, what do you want to teach us? What do you want us to learn about? Because Skewb is a really curious place. People want to know, and they want to know how to help. So I think my hopes and dreams for IDEA were just initially that everyone got treated fairly and that everyone had a chance, and that my kids and everybody else's kids could have a chance to join Skewb or join the utilities industry, and it would be welcoming for everybody. It's gone on to be so much more than that, and it's like my fourth child. I'm so proud of it, and I think, this will be one of the things that I look back in years to come and think, wow, that was a pivotal moment. This has been a pivotal moment in my life and maybe in Skewb's life.
I think just to add to that, I think there's two elements of that which have come to bear with our work with IDEA and Skewb. The fact that we came out with our personal stories as well. So obviously I had the story remember when we had a Skewb conference and we got everybody in the room crying about the personal stories, the stories of me and my children trying to cross the borders from France into England, and our car being picked up as the car that was obviously the one which had drugs in it. And it obviously wasn't our car, but we had been typecast as the people who were that. And so we had to have a conversation with our children to say, look, you have to keep out of activities, because, you have to always be a step behind, just in case people, highlight you as the people who are responsible for things that you're not. So having those conversations and talking to all Skewbers in the room brought the element of vulnerability, which meant everybody started thinking, okay, I can be vulnerable in here and I can bring my ideas and nobody's ashamed of what's happened to them. And I think that just kind of brought down the temperature of, sometimes you work in a corporate environment and you feel like you need to check out parts of your personality at the door when you're coming to work. And in Skewb, I think what we managed to do with IDEA is get everybody to be vulnerable, get everybody to accept that their ideas will be welcome, make sure that it was an equitable place to work in, make sure that we everything that we do, there is access around it.
Yeah.
And I think the key for me as well, as you've just said, is the amount of fulfillment that you get by knowing that implementing some of these very, very simple things just makes the workplace a better place and makes people more comfortable to be their best and to act their best. And I think that actually just results in Skewb being a more welcoming place, and you get better business outcomes for it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that stands out to me is, you're right, that very first Christmas conference we did stand up and tell some really vulnerable stories. And actually looking back, I think that was a really brave thing. I'm proud of us, because that was a huge thing to do. But actually you send out your message into the room, and what came back was total love and acceptance and interest and curiosity and wanting to be part of that journey, and saying, oh, he's just a man that we work with, but I'm seeing this other side to him that is what happens at home, and I'm seeing this thing that's happening to this woman, and she's just like me, just like me, and yet this extraordinary thing is happening. It's been really moving, actually, in the way that Skewbers have taken us to their heart, because then in all the other conferences and times, since then, we've seen Skewbers share their own vulnerabilities with us.
Absolutely.
Which has been, what a privilege, what an absolute privilege to hear these stories that they've got. It's, what a treat. And I would question whether other D&I efforts in other companies have that type of thing. I think we're very lucky.
We are very lucky. And I think one of the key things as well is how D&I is just embedded in the DNA of Skewb.
Yeah.
To the extent that even looking at our logos, you can see D&I just embedded in it. When we get clients to come in for client meetings, one of the key things that happens is Gill and I go in and we talk about all the different D&I initiatives, because we work in an industry as well, which is very, very male dominated, and that's the first dial that we want to move. If we're working with that industry and we look at Skewb is very, very diverse from a gender perspective. And I'm proud to be able to just say to a client, just look at this. Why can your organization not be a reflection of what we're doing at Skewb? And I think just having those very, very overt diversity conversations with our clients and open conversations with our clients really turns the dial on the industry as well. And it's one thing that I'm really proud of.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess looking at that, how do we do IDEA in our clients and offerings?
There are several things. So I come from a digital background, and we are moving in a world which is becoming increasingly digital focused, and we run the risk of leaving a whole big section of society behind if we don't design products that are inclusive in every sense of the word, be it from a visual impairment type of approaches, or just color schemes of people who are colorblind, or being able to have speech as another medium of interacting with the products. And one of the key things that we've been looking at in Skewb is how we make sure that our products are differentiated by being inclusive and applicable to a whole load of different diverse audience. So if you're looking at neurodiversity, for example, a lot of our products that we have, which is around learning, ensures that we have different modes of training the workforce. And that's really got some really lovely stories of neurodiverse children who all of a sudden engage because they are able to learn using gaming rather than using the traditional approaches. And therefore you're opening up an industry to a set of people who would never have thought about coming into that industry. And I think just looking at things from those different angles and being able to bring idea into conversations like that and bring products to then open things up, it's a real key part of what we do at Skewb.
I think it would be a bit disingenuous at this moment to not mention Skewb Climate, because although a separatish entity, they're very much involved in everything, and they take IDEA seriously. These people are not messing. Whenever you see any of the products that they come out with and the modules that they create, it's always with diversity and inclusion as a basis of it.
Correct.
And I think maybe that's one of the highlight things about Skewb is that no matter what part of Skewb you're working in, this is an underrunning current of everything, isn't it? That diversity is there, and that everyone has taken it on, and nobody is shying away from it at all. And I think one of my moments looking back is that the climate team wanted to do a module all about inclusion and diversity, and so their little their corgi dog detective doing work to work out how to be inclusive. I love that. I think, when do you ever get the chance to do that? So
absolutely.
Yeah.
More client offerings. So I have a dream. I just sound like Martin Luther King now, don't I? I do have a dream of actually having inclusion and diversity as an HR offering that goes to our clients, because you have to be intentional about inclusion and diversity. As I said at the start of this podcast, we kind of had a very diverse workforce, and almost it wasn't by design, but I think you do run the risk of, if you're starting from in an organization that hasn't got that diversity in its workforce, you need to then be intentional about making sure that you bring that diversity in. And I think there are consulting offerings that we need to be able to take to our clients around that. We have got enough clients who've come into our offices and been kind of, at least we've sown the seeds, and they're really intrigued about it. Because one of the things that always hits on the spot is most of our clients are of an age where their daughters approaching the workforce, approaching the time to join the workforce. And they always have to ask that question: have I left the workforce? Have I left my organization in a space that my daughter can work in? And that usually concentrates the minds of how we do, how we can make changes in the workforce.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess on that point, we've just had a lady called Alex join us who she suffers from Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and she uses a wheelchair. And we knew about her before she came to us. She was someone who had done a lunch and learn with us because she's amazing, isn't she? She's such an advocate for invisible disabilities. She's scarily good.
She's an inspiration.
She is an inspiration, absolutely. Yeah. And I think she's come into Skewb and immediately she's seen the opportunity that there is in Skewb for doing exciting new things. And, the possibilities are endless, and the subject matter is so huge, but the possibilities of what we can do to really make changes in this space are enormous. So the fact that newcomers come into the family and, also want to be part of it and do things is great.
And I think it tells you, Alex's example tells you the reach of Skewb IDEA. So ever since Alex joined, she's been down to Downing Street talking about invisible disabilities. She's now been working with the highway authorities to make sure that they have inclusion and diversity as a core part of everything that they do. So Alex is a streetworks expert, and all of a sudden people working within local government are now very interested in what is happening on the streets. And if you're to have road closures, does it account for people who are on wheelchairs, and how does that work? And Alex is a champion for that. I'm so proud of that.
Yeah, I'm so proud of her too. Amazing.
Gill.
Yes.
What's your proudest moment in Skewb IDEA?
Oh my goodness. So many. And initially, when I knew I was going to be answering this question, I thought about the big things, the times that we've had ambitious about autism or blind in business come in, and the way we've been able to expose Skewbers who might not have ever been part of those communities to see what that type of disability means for your life and how the people around you have to make adjustments to cope with it. But actually, the thing that I'm proudest of really is the one-to-one conversations that I've had on the back of bigger events that we've done. And I can remember somebody saying to me quite soon after we did our very first Christmas conference, when I talked about my children being part of the LGBTQIA community, and someone came to me and they said that they had gone home that night and had a conversation at their dinner table with their teenage son, and said, "Oh, do you know anybody at school who's transgender? Do you know anybody who's part of this community?" And the son had sort of said no and had dismissed it. And this person had been able to have a conversation and talked about the experiences of the family and the person, and said, there was never a chance that his son was going to be a bully or, be a bigot or anything like that. But they'd been able to have the conversation at the dinner table. And actually, that's really, I think that is it. That's all I can. I think I felt like I'd peaked, the minute after I'd done it, because they, if I changed one life, that's wow, that's an amazing thing. But to have changed maybe more than that, but I think that the smallest conversation is what I'm proudest of. So what about you? What's your proudest moment?
My proudest moment, I don't think I've got a specific proudest moment. I have to say I'm always very proud of just being around you, because I've said this more times than one. You are not just an idea person, you're the mother of this company and the moral conscience of the company. And I think there's a lot to be said around IDEA being the moral conscience of what we all do as a business or as a people company. So my proudest moments, I have to say, is just the fact that inclusion and diversity is laced into everything we do. So when you're coming in for induction within the company, we either you or I or Rob are talking to everybody who joins this company about IDEA to make sure that they land and know it all works, and make sure that they know it's welcome. I love the fact that our products are all, very inclusive, and I do like the fact that day to day, if people have issues, they can come to you, they can come to me, they can come to Rob, they can go to Shashi, they can go to any of the OpCo members, and know that they will be heard and understood. Okay, so where do we go from here? So you said you'd already peaked. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, I can sit back. It's all done. It's all sorted out now. So Skewb is growing. It's growing exponentially. We've seen it grow, so much in the time that we've been in here, and even the fact that we're sitting here in our own studio doing a podcast. It would have seemed impossible this time last year, but here we are. So I think going forward, it's how to transition our initial IDEA offering that was for a relatively small company, probably 100, 150 people maximum, to a much bigger offering. And we talk about our community and our DNA and how are we going to ensure that what's really special about IDEA, how do we take that forward to a bigger audience and maybe more widely spaced audience and in different industries? That's what I wonder, but I do know that it will happen because there is such enthusiasm for IDEA. I'm not scared that it won't happen. I'm just interested to see the evolution, but I do know that it will. My ambitions for I would love to see us recognised as a company that had won an award for diversity and inclusion. I can't lie. I would love to have my own shield or cup out there on the display thing. And I think that will happen. It's, as more people come in, we're going to, find out different things that we haven't even thought about in the diversity and inclusion arena. We're always learning, always seeing new things come up, and as we look in the news, we're quite good at reacting to what happens in the news, I think, with IDEA. And it's a tricky old world out there at the moment, and we're going to keep on addressing the things that are out there and helping Skewbers to be able to articulate their feelings and to help each other and that type of thing. So I've got huge hopes and ambitions for it, but they're all very much interlinked with the growth of Skewb as an entity. I don't think. Well, I know that Shashi and Indu are both absolutely on board with IDEA. They're the biggest advocates, aren't they? Really,
Absolutely.
Of what we do. They never hesitate to take on board any of the mad ideas that you and I come up with. That I come up with, and the sensible ones that you come up with. They're always on point and they're always so supportive. So I think bigger, better, more, faster, I think that's what's going to happen. And we just need to stay agile and move with the times and be ready to do it, I guess. And also I think we've got a great HR team. We've got, obviously a lovely media team. Thank you, Jess, who's sitting in the corner tapping her watch because we're taking far too long. But we've got so many resources, I think, who all want to be a part of IDEA and who have the same ethos, the same moral compass that we've got. So it's seeing how that moves forward together, and we all know that staff well-being is a huge part of diversity and inclusion, because anybody who is marginalised for any reason is going to have some well-being issues there. So I think ensuring that, Skewb stays true to itself and continues in the way it's done so far. I think so.
Yeah, I think it's a similar thing for me. I think it was Carl Lewis who said, you have to keep running in order to stand still. We are in a world where there's so much changing around us, and we just need to keep aware of all those changes and keep aware of the fact that those changes bring different challenges. We cannot just sit on our laurels just going, oh, because we've got the protected characteristics all covered in our inclusion and diversity initiatives, and that's it. The world is changing constantly in the same way as our clients are changing constantly, and we have to keep on top of it and ensure that we adapt all of our ways of working and make everybody feel included. My ambition really is to use Skewb as the beacon for the utilities industry, to say, look, it's worked here. Why can't it work? Why can't we in 10 years' time as a utilities industry have equity in terms of gender and in terms of, have 20% of the force of the workforce being a neurodiverse workforce and so on and so forth. So I'm really looking at this as being a forerunner for things that we can see within the utilities industry. That's my ambition.
I think also probably the last point is like the future point, isn't it? Because you and I have very much done this from the viewpoint of being parents of our own children, and now all my children have now left school and yours are coming up to important exams and all the rest of it. So these children who we have been thinking about, they're right there on the cusp of coming into work, and I'm so excited and expectant of what, this generation of kids has got to offer.
Absolutely.
And the young people we've already got in Skewb are amazing, absolutely a stellar cohort. But as we get even younger than that and kids coming in and hopefully through things like apprenticeships and that type of thing, I've got such excitement about that and seeing how that changes us and seeing what they can teach us, because they've got so much more to teach us than we have to teach them, I think. So, okay. Right. So much like Skewb, IDEA is growing and changing along with the times and needs of Skewbers. Thank you for listening to our journey so far, and we hope you join us on the journey that's still ahead.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Whoop, whoop.
Skewb.